The phone buzzed against my kitchen counter as I helped Noah, my 8-year-old son, prepare his favorite lunch, peanut butter sandwich, cut precisely into 4 triangles. I glanced at the caller ID. Amanda, my sister-in-law. Your son makes Mom uncomfortable. Amanda's voice crackled through the speaker without so much as a hello. We think it's best if you skip her birthday celebration this weekend. My hand stilled on the sandwich knife, but I kept my voice steady for Noah's sake. Excuse me. Look, Olivia, we all know how Noah can get at family gatherings. The noises, the movements. Mom's turning 65, and she deserves a perfect day. We want her to be comfortable. I watched Noah meticulously align his sandwich triangles, his gentle humming a reminder of how far he'd come in his therapy. My beautiful, brilliant boy, who could name every planet in the solar system and recite pi to 30 decimal places. Amanda, we're coming. Noah is your mother's grandson, and... God, you're so selfish, she cut in. It's not always about you and Noah. Think about someone else for once. Mom specifically said she doesn't want any disruptions. The word disruptions hung in the air like poison. I felt heat rise in my chest, but years of advocating for Noah had taught me to channel anger into action. Put Carol on the phone, I said, referring to my mother-in-law. She's not available. Amanda replied too quickly. Just, don't come, okay? We'll send photos. The line went dead. I stood there, gripping the counter, as Noah finished arranging his lunch with precise, careful movements. My husband, Mark, was away on a business trip, but I knew what he'd say. We had countless conversations about his family's treatment of Noah, their subtle exclusions growing more overt with each passing year. I opened my phone's gallery, finding a video from last Christmas. Noah was sitting with Carol, his grandmother, showing her his new astronomy book. She was actually smiling, engaged in his detailed explanation of black holes. That was before Amanda's influence had really taken hold. Mom? Noah's voice pulled me back to the present. Are we going to Grandma's party? I looked at my son, taking in his questioning blue eyes, so much like his father's. He'd been talking about the party for weeks, excited to show his grandmother the special card he'd made, covered in carefully drawn constellations because she once told him she loved looking at the stars. Yes, sweetheart, I said firmly. We're definitely going. Over the next few days, I received a barrage of texts from Amanda. Mom's really anxious about this. Why can't you just think about others for once? Everyone agrees it's better if you don't come. I saved every message, forwarding them to Mark. His responses were immediate and furious, but I asked him not to confront them yet. I had a different approach in mind. On Saturday morning, I helped Noah dress in his favorite blue button-down shirt. He struggled with the buttons but insisted on doing them himself, his face screwed up in concentration. Remember our strategies, I said as we drove to Carol's house. If things get overwhelming, find a quiet space, use my headphones, or ask you for help, he finished, proud of remembering his tools. Mom, did you know that Saturn's density is so low it would float in water if you could find a bathtub big enough? I smiled at his endless fascination with space facts. That's amazing, honey. Maybe you can tell Grandma about that today. As we pulled up to Carol's house, I could see the party was already in full swing. Balloons decorated the front porch, and through the windows, I spotted familiar faces of family members who had clearly received Amanda's memo about our uninvited status. Noah clutched his handmade card, his other hand finding mine as we walked to the door. I could feel a slight tremor in his fingers, but his steps were steady. I rang the doorbell. Amanda yanked it open, her face flushing red when she saw us. What are you doing here? I told you. Happy birthday, Grandma. Noah's voice carried past Amanda into the house, where Carol appeared in the hallway, a party hat perched on her silver hair. Noah. Carol's face lit up with genuine surprise and what looked like pleasure, before she caught Amanda's expression and quickly schooled her features into something more neutral. But I'd seen it, that moment of real joy. More importantly, Noah had seen it too. I made you a card, he said, stepping forward. It has all the constellations you can see on your birthday. Did you know that the stars you see tonight are the same ones that were in the sky the day you were born, just in a different position because of Earth's rotation and... Noah, Amanda interrupted sharply, causing him to flinch. Grandma doesn't need a science lecture right now. I opened my mouth to intervene, but someone else beat me to it. Actually, came a firm voice from behind Carol. I'd love to hear more about those stars. Mark stepped into view, his business trip apparently ending earlier than scheduled. He moved past his sister and mother, placing a hand on Noah's shoulder. Why don't you tell us all about it, buddy? I'm sure everyone at the party would love to learn something new today. The look he gave Amanda could have frozen hell itself. And that's when the real party began. Mark's unexpected presence changed the entire dynamic of the party. Amanda's face cycled through various shades of red as family members gathered in the living room, with Noah positioned at the center, his astronomy knowledge on full display. And that's why Grandma's zodiac constellation is Leo, Noah explained, his confidence growing with each attentive nod from the audience. Even my mother-in-law, Carol, seemed to be softening, her earlier hesitation melting as she watched her grandson shine. But Amanda wasn't done. She hovered at the edges of the group, wine glass clutched too tightly in her manicured hands. I recognized that look, the same one she'd worn at every family gathering where Noah had stolen her spotlight. Present time, she suddenly announced, cutting off Noah mid-sentence about meteor showers. Mom, you should open mine first. I felt Noah tense beside me, his fingers starting their familiar tapping pattern against his leg. Mark noticed too, moving closer to provide the steady presence our son needed. Amanda thrust an elaborately wrapped package into Carol's hands. It's from me and the kids, you know, your other grandchildren. The emphasis wasn't subtle. Carol unwrapped an expensive-looking crystal photo frame, filled with pictures of Amanda's 3 children at various family events we'd never been invited to. Oh, look at all these wonderful memories, Amanda gushed, pointing at each photo. Remember that beach trip last summer, and the Christmas pageant, all those perfect family moments. Noah's tapping increased. He understood exclusion better than anyone gave him credit for. I have more pictures to add. Amanda continued, pulling out her phone. From last month's camping trip and… What camping trip? Mark interrupted, his voice dangerously quiet. The room grew still. Carol suddenly became very interested in adjusting her party hat. Oh, Amanda said, false sweetness dripping from her voice. Didn't Mom tell you? Just a little family getaway. We didn't think Noah would enjoy it. Before either Mark or I could respond, Noah stood up. His hands were shaking, but his voice was clear. I like camping, he said. Did you know that ancient astronomers used to study the stars while camping? They made maps of the sky that we still use today. I could have shown you how to find the North Star, and… Nobody wants another space lecture, Amanda snapped. This is exactly why we didn't invite you. You can't just act normal for 1 minute, can you? The room gasped. Several relatives quickly found reasons to examine their shoes. Noah's face crumpled, but instead of melting down as Amanda clearly expected, he took a deep breath, just like we practiced, and reached for his backpack. I brought my noise-canceling headphones, he said quietly, for when things get too loud, and my stress ball for when my hands need to move. I've been practicing. I wanted to be ready for Grandma's party. Carol set down the crystal frame, her hands trembling slightly. Noah, she started, but Amanda cut her off again. Mom, don't let them guilt you. We all know how hard it is having him around. Remember Thanksgiving and Easter? He ruins every holiday. That's enough. Mark's voice cracked like a whip. Noah, buddy, why don't you show Grandpa Tom your constellation card? I need to have a word with Aunt Amanda. But Noah surprised us all again. It's okay, Dad. I want to stay. He turned to Amanda, clutching his stress ball. You don't like me very much, Aunt Amanda. That's okay. Did you know that in space, there are things called binary stars? They look like one star, but they're actually 2 different stars, spinning around each other. They're different, but they make something beautiful together. We could be like that, maybe. Different but still family. The silence that followed was deafening. Amanda's wine glass trembled in her grip. Carol made a sound somewhere between a sob and a laugh. Well, came a voice from the back of the room. Aunt Susan, Amanda's own mother-in-law, stepped forward. I think that's the most sensible thing anyone's said all day. Noah, dear, would you tell me more about these binary stars? I've always loved astronomy. As Noah launched into an enthusiastic explanation, other relatives began to drift closer, genuine interest replacing their earlier discomfort. Someone asked about black holes. Another wanted to know about Mars. Amanda stood frozen, watching her carefully orchestrated drama dissolve into a genuine celebration, one where her nephew was the unexpected star. Carol finally found her voice. "Amanda," she said, steel beneath the softness, "I think we need to talk about these family trips you've been organizing. And why half my grandchildren keep disappearing from them." I caught Mark's eye across the room. He nodded slightly. This was Carol's moment to step up, to finally take a stand. As mother and daughter left the room for what promised to be an uncomfortable conversation, I watched Noah flourish under the genuine attention of his relatives. He was using his coping strategies, taking breaks when needed, but mostly just being himself, brilliant, different, and absolutely perfect. Aunt Susan appeared at my elbow. "You know," she said quietly, "I think some of us owe you and Noah an apology. We've let Amanda's concerns influence us for too long. That stops today." I squeezed her hand in response, too choked up for words. The party continued, transforming into something far different from Amanda's vision of perfect. It was messy, real, and punctuated by fascinating space facts. And somehow, that made it better than perfect. It made it true. The aftermath of Carol's birthday party rippled through our family like waves after a storm hits water. The first change came the very next morning when Carol showed up at our door, her eyes red but determined. "I'd like to take Noah to the planetarium," she said. "If that's okay with him, of course. I realize I have a lot to make up for." Noah, who'd been listening from the hallway, emerged with his planetarium fact book already in hand. "Did you know they have a real meteor fragment there, Grandma?" From the Perseid shower. The smile that spread across Carol's face was genuine, untouched by Amanda's influence for the first time in years. Over the next few weeks, more family members began reaching out. Aunt Susan organized a family stargazing night specifically for Noah to teach everyone about constellations. Cousins who'd once avoided him started asking for his help with their science homework. Amanda, however, wasn't going quietly. "You've turned everyone against me," she cornered me after church one Sunday. "Are you happy now?" I watched Noah ahead of us, showing his younger cousin how to use a compass. "No one's against you, Amanda. They're just finally seeing Noah for who he really is, not who you told them he was." "Mom's spending all her time with him now," she said bitterly. "She canceled our weekly lunch dates to take him to that stupid planetarium." "Maybe," I suggested carefully, "you could join them sometime. Noah would love to share that with you too." She scoffed, but I caught something in her expression. A flicker of uncertainty, perhaps even longing. The real breakthrough came a month later. Amanda's oldest daughter, Emily, was struggling with her science project about the solar system. After watching her daughter's frustration build, Amanda did something none of us expected. She called Noah. I stood in the doorway, watching my son patiently explain planetary orbits to his cousin, using oranges and apples as models. Amanda sat nearby, initially stiff and uncomfortable, but gradually leaning in, asking questions of her own. "So that's why Pluto isn't considered a planet anymore?" she asked, genuinely curious. Noah launched into an excited explanation, his hands moving animatedly. Instead of cutting him off or showing irritation, Amanda listened. Really listened. Later, as they were leaving, she paused at the door. "I've been wrong," she said quietly, "about a lot of things. I didn't understand." "No one's asking you to understand everything," I replied. "Just to accept him, to try." She nodded, watching Emily excitedly tell Noah about her project plans for next week. "He's a good kid. A really good kid. I'm sorry it took me so long to see that." The final testament to how much things had changed came at the next family gathering, Thanksgiving. Instead of being excluded or barely tolerated, Noah was given a special role. Carol asked him to say grace, but in his own way. He stood at the table, looking at all the faces, some loving, some still learning, but all trying. "Did you know that gratitude is like gravity?" he began. "It's a force that pulls people together, just like gravity holds planets in orbit. Today, I'm grateful for my family, who are like my own solar system. Sometimes we're far apart, like Pluto, and sometimes we're as close as Mercury to the sun. But we're always connected." I saw tears in Carol's eyes, pride in Mark's, and most surprisingly, a small smile on Amanda's face. Later that evening, as families began to leave, Amanda approached Noah. "Hey, space expert," she said, her voice only slightly awkward. "Emily's class is taking a field trip to the observatory next month. I'm chaperoning, and well, we could really use someone who knows their stuff. Would you like to come? Noah's face lit up brighter than any star he ever described. As I watched them discuss the upcoming trip, Mark slipped his arm around my waist. Look at that, he murmured. Our own little binary star system spinning into alignment. Noah was right that day at the birthday party. Different doesn't mean wrong in family. Real family finds a way to shine together, each member adding their own unique light to the constellation. Amanda still has her moments, and not every family gathering is perfect. But now, when Noah needs to take a break or gets overwhelmed with excitement about a new space fact, the family adapts. They've learned that love isn't about changing someone to fit your mold. It's about creating space for everyone to be themselves. As for Noah, he continues to teach us all about stars, space, and the infinite possibilities that exist when you open your heart to understanding. Different but together, just like binary stars in the vast universe of family. Sometimes the greatest gifts come wrapped in unexpected packages, teaching us that in the end, acceptance and love are the most powerful forces in any universe, even stronger than gravity itself.